So continuing on, video 2 of trying to code or build a website, but without using AI and just using normal logic and coding skills and also documentation online. So I ran into an issue. You can see here we have this format where the buttons are a little bit askew. And ideally, the buttons should be next to one another. And if we look at the code, this is the user management site. So that's this site here where we have this pop-up. So if you click on any of the users, you get the information. You can edit it and make updates. This is only allowed if you're an admin. So then as part of the admin section, you get the user management. And you can update or delete the users. If you update, it'll just push the update to the submittal page. If you try to delete, you get the little pop-up to confirm, and we'll cancel. But the buttons are perfectly aligned here. And on this page, which is the account management is what allows the user to update his or her own details. So if the user wants to update his or her password, phone number, email, username, they can do that here in the account management page. But what was interesting is we'll go back to the code. On the user management page, this is the section that we have. So you have the selection. So this is the submit, and this is the update button. So we have the value is the update. That's what's shown here, right there, this update or delete. And then we also have an update or delete, like if a user wanted to delete his or her account. But what's interesting is that if we look at here, we have this paragraph break in the HTML, and then the input, which is the button, the submit of this form. So everything gets submitted as a form, so all the values of like what's the user's name, what's the password, what's the phone, and then you have the input, and that all manifests itself here in these form areas, these inputs. But then this last part, we have this paragraph, okay, and then we end the form, but then we're on the same paragraph so that we have to delete. So in theory, they're both on the same paragraph, and so they should be next to each other, both the update button and the delete button, which is indeed what we have here. But if we look on the account management page, which is almost the exact same code, the exact same formatting, we have the paragraph, we end the form, we then have the delete button, and then we end the delete form, and then we have the paragraph break. So in theory, the code is essentially identical, and yet we're getting a different result in the browser. And it took me a while. I was thinking like maybe it has to do with the CSS class of the div element or something. And I spent, I think, maybe an hour or two looking at the code and trying to figure it out. And I wanted to share this because it's kind of valuable. So if we inspect this and we use the browser-based inspector, what we can do is we can go down to the elements, and we can go all the way down. We have this paragraph here, this form, and then we have this form here. But what you'll notice is in the element, what's getting passed is there's the paragraph break here after this first button. But that's not what's in my code. My code doesn't have this paragraph break. So the browser itself, for whatever reason, is actually inserting an extra paragraph break here, right there. And so in theory, there's nothing wrong with the code that I fed it, but the way the browser behavior was interpreting is, I guess it felt that this paragraph was unfinished. It wasn't waiting for the final paragraph of this form here. So this was somehow getting misrepresented. and so that this was becoming an orphan, and then there was an extra paragraph. But actually, the paragraph break for the entire thing should be happening here. So this extra one is something that I guess the browser was trying to throw in as a way of being, I don't know, intelligent or nice to maybe common HTML formatting mistakes. So for whatever reason, and it's not something that you can actually see in the code. I'd actually would be suspicious if even AI could find it, because if you just submitted your code base to an AI engine, I don't know if they would be able to then contextualize that the browser was showing something else. But being able to go through in the browser and look through this is something which is vital, obviously. And so what I had to do was sort of make a workaround. Was the browsers seem to be very good at having div elements which have lots of sort of nested elements. But for whatever reason, I guess the paragraphs, maybe because it's a more common formatting mistake, or for whatever reason, the browsers, and I tested both in Chrome and Firefox, they essentially want to tighten up these what I guess are being perceived as orphan paragraphs a little bit tighter. Why it's not doing it over here, I do not know. It must be, I think maybe because this starts off as hidden, so the browser isn't being as aggressive with inserting that format. But for this element, the workaround was this block of code here. So if we, actually I can just change it in real time. So we'll get rid of this, and instead of making this a paragraph, we'll make this a nested div, and then we'll just add a break right before it. So instead of being a new paragraph after the previous paragraphs, we'll let all the previous paragraphs sections be paragraphs, and then we're making this a div element, which again, based on this whole thing as a div and previous experience, it seems the browsers aren't as aggressive as trying to close off what they perceive as alienated divs. We're gonna put in this little workaround, which I tested before, so yeah, we'll make sure this works. So if we go, we'll close the inspector and we'll just refresh the page. And of course it doesn't work because I think it's saving our style in the session. Just double check. Oh, no, we gotta save this first. Okay. And there we go. So now the buttons are aligned and they're on the same line. So an interesting bug, and again, it's one of those things that I really worry with everyone trying to vibe code and use AI to generate all of their code. It's maybe one of those little tricks that, yeah, could be frustrating, could be hard to debug, but actually it's about understanding not only the code but also like what the browser behavior is doing. So if we inspect this again, we see that the div, this part right here, right after this input, was where the section was getting broken down and was being broken out. So that's essentially what the issue is there. And then we can test this just to make sure it's all working. And then user was updated, we go to the count, and then indeed the number was changed. Okay, so that was one interesting trick that I tested. Since the last update, we made a couple of other changes. Some serious thoughts. Okay. So there's been a couple of other ideas. We added, or I added, we added some additional work to make sure that the the formatting and everything was sort of taken care of. So inside the header now, we put in a function, and this may end up being a series of functions. but we included this br to nl. So in PHP, there's a function called nl to br, and that's what we use in our submit page. Where is it? Like here's an example. And what NL2BR does is, particularly when we have these larger elements where we're including a lot of information. So if we go to the product management page, if we're inserting a new product or we're creating an update for a product description, we want to make sure that when we submit all of this to the database and then display it in the product views, is that all of these line breaks that are in text, the line breaks here would appear to the code as like this \n. We want to preserve that \n as essentially a BR in HTML, so that there's this line break that gets respected in the HTML, so that if we update this, it gets submitted. The submission hits here using post, and then we add an HTML line break to the element as it's stored at the database level. That way the formatting of the string when it hits the database has these additional line breaks, so that when we display it in a products page, we get the line breaks being preserved. Okay, so that's essentially what we're doing. And we want to make sure that all that gets preserved inside the database as it comes in. And then when we display that information, we also, when we're making edits to it, let's go to the product management. We have this br2nl. So we're removing the line breaks when we're editing it, and then we're re-adding them in. The problem is if you don't do this, because it may sound like intuitively, well, why not just edit and then you're doing the same update? The problem is that if you have the line breaks and then they end up being displayed in text, and then you submit the new line breaks, you're going to keep adding breaks every time you update a product. So this was one kind of update, and sorry if I'm jumping around a bit. But essentially, you need to have a function kind of like this where you're swapping out these line breaks to remove them, so that when you make an update, you don't keep adding more and more breaks. Then you end up with more and more like white space in between each line as you edit and update the text. So that's one thing there. I did notice, and we have this product description, that the product description is removing in the view. So this is the products page. See, we have no line break here. If we wanted to make sure that we're seeing these line breaks in the products view page, this is also new. That in the products view page, what we're doing is we're already applying this, and this is just like a formatting preference. But say if I comment out this line, copy it, and then we can see what this looks like without the function. Okay, so if we don't apply the function in the product description as we get it from the database, so here's our query, here's our statement prepared, then we're doing the execute. Again, we're using the PDO method, and then we're getting all the results. Then that's returning an array. Then we're looping across the array using this for each command, and then we're getting the various elements, and then we're displaying the elements one by one, and then they're showing up like as these kind of cards. So we have this product page, and then as we add more products, we'll just have more cards, and then in theory they should be able to dynamically align based on the screen size. That's the goal. But let's save this and we can see what the change looks like. So if we save this and then reload the page, see all the line breaks are being preserved, and then if there's overflow, that's also preserving it. So we can make that change. The next goal is what we want to do is from this page, we already have, this is displayed as a card, but the card is a form, so that the form can then go and we can make a details page. So that's what I want to do now, is we're going to take this products page and we're going to make a view product page. So we're going to grab all this, copy it, make a new, paste that in. I'm going to save as, go to my documents, lamp, work. And this is not the same format as what's in the GitHub page, but this is sort of like my little development environment. So we have a view product, and we want to make sure it's the same name as what we're targeting. Yes, view product.php. So we're going to say this is view product.php. Now we're not going to want to include this same sort of query, but we can sort of massage this to then create a different looking element. And so what we're going to do is we're first going to need to catch the information which is coming over from the post. And actually the only thing that's being sent over to us in the form, this is a very tiny form, this form actually just resides in this one button here. So what we have is hidden is the product ID, the name, the PID. So what we want to do is first catch that post. We're going to say PID is equal to post PID. So that means that on this page, we're going to listen for anything that's posted to this page that's name PID, and that name is here. Okay, and then this is going to submit for the view product. We're going to catch that on this view product page, and then we're going to adjust our query. So we're going to select from products where UID is equal to PID. And then what we did here is not what I want to do for the view product page. What this is doing is on this products page, because I wanted everything to be displayed as like small cards, so it's doing a chop on the word length. And that's something that I did on my other thing, like here. You have this little chop of information. So if you have a text that goes too long, there's kind of like an overflow. So that way you don't have too much information per card. I'm sort of applying the same formatting to this product page. So this is saying if the string length goes beyond 200 characters, we're just going to chop it down, and we're going to add this little dot 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 and line break as part of the formatting, so that the cards don't get too long. What we're going to do for the view product page is we're not going to chop down the description. We're going to display the full description of the product. And then we're going to grab the image. We don't need the PID because we're getting that from the post. We're going to get the price. We're also going to get the specs of the product. Okay. And we also do not need the BR2NL here, because this isn't editing the information. The product description, getting the full product description, that's okay. And then what we're going to do, div class overview post link. Yep, but we don't want the overview class. So this is in our styles page. So this is the overview. This is what gives us our little blocks. So you have this display inline block that kind of makes it so everything sort of formats so it's a bit more dynamic. So sort of lets us do this, and we can make a more dynamic look and feel. And that way things line up next to each other on the page. It's a bit more dynamic formatting. Something that I'm also going to need to mess around a little bit, because this is going based on percentage sizes. And what I may do is make this a fixed number of pixels on the window when it displays. Maybe something for a different video. But we don't need the overview here because we're not doing these smaller blocks. So we don't want the max width of this page to be set at 25%, 25%. What we're going to go for is something a bit bigger, like we have in this account management page where you have this nice big square block. So back to the view product page, we're going to get rid of this. We're just going to keep the post link class for the style. Then yes, this is displaying the product if we needs to be displayed. For right now, we'll just remove this form. We're going to make a new form a little bit later. And then we're just going to display all of the text. So we're going to have the product name. Sure, we'll go with a header for product description. We could even maybe add something like so we're going to just add like a small title here, and then strong this wrap. What it does is it just makes it bold. Then we're going to a line break and then the product description. So what that should be is we're going to have a bold word of description and then the product description. Then we could do the same thing. We'll just copy this and then adjust. We can make this maybe showing the specifications, and then this is going to be the value that we're getting. So this is P specs. And then maybe we're showing the price. Okay, so we have this div for the price. We could also even just follow the same formatting that we're doing. Okay, so we're displaying we're going to have a div element, which is with the formatting of our post link, which is just this big square here. We're going to have the image, the product image, if it's available. I don't know where's the image. If it's on this style, we probably don't want it to be 100%. We can make this, say we'll make it 50%. So that way it'll be 50% of the total size of this div element. We're including all of the information, so the connection to the database, this formatting page, the title bar, which again is this bar with all of this information. All of that's being displayed here. And then we're showing this information about the product. The products page, there's no user restriction. So like for example here, in the user management page, like we have this user restriction, so we're checking if the user is valid and if the user level is an admin. We're not doing any of that for this view product page because you want, in theory, people to be able to view information about the product. What we might add later in a later update is maybe some sort of logic where we actually check to see if there's a registered user or a valid user, and then maybe we can have like some sort of order methodology where the user can submit a request that yes, I want to purchase this product. And then, yeah, we can continue down that route. For right now, for the purposes of this video. We're just doing a view product so that people can then jump from the product page and then be able to click on the details and then actually see something. So hopefully I didn't screw anything up yet. We'll save this and we'll see what this looks like. Again, I always expect a mistake here or there on first try, but I think I got everything. Let me just also check. Let me see if I have. Nope. I want to just check the formatting of the database. And to do that, I want to make sure I have my PHP MyAdmin container running. Again, PHP MyAdmin, a really nice tool. Do not deploy it in production. It's good for development, but not for production. So we'll check this. Okay, the DB name is wrong because we updated after the last video. I realized there's already a product that has this name, so now we changed the name to Open Sales Inventory, something which is quite bland, but at least it's available. Let's see the products page structure. Yes, UID is how we're storing the product ID on the database side. So then this query looks okay. So we saved it and let's give it a try. So we're on the products page, click on details. Yep, there we go. So yeah, that's essentially kind of what I wanted. Maybe this is the product name. Maybe what we could do is put a title to this page because all the other pages have a title aside from the products. But usually we have a section here, so we can maybe update that. We could have something that says like product details. So let's just keep the formatting like for like. Where is it? Oh, here, product, it's an H3. Okay. Can add this in. We'll go back to products, then details, and then we have the product details being displayed. So then it keeps the formatting kind of like for like. So yeah, those are just a couple of things to update in this series for now. I hope it's helpful as we sort of develop out this page. Again, not using AI, just trying to understand the code and creating a simple website of how to get up and running with PHP using the PDO connector and trying to create sort of a modern or modern-ish website, but using no frameworks, just straight up HTML, CSS, PHP. And I hope you guys find it interesting. Okay, thank you very much.